Inside Out 2 is hands down the best Pixar film in recent years. But did you catch all the hidden secrets tucked away in this incredible movie? One of those hidden secrets that Disney Pixar managed to hide so well that almost no one noticed is a bit gross. When Riley's team finally scores the winning point in the last seconds of the game, the crowd and the team go wild. Well, almost the whole team, because if you look closely, you can see that in the corner below the Foghorns bench, one of the girls is throwing up into a trash can. Did she eat too much, or was she too nervous? I bet you didn't notice that. I only caught it on my third watch. Check out now all the hidden secrets that Pixar didn't want you to see in Inside Out 2. When the movie starts, we see that Riley's team, the Foghorns, is playing against the Sea Lions, who wear blue uniforms and have a water-themed logo. However, when we get to the hockey camp, Riley starts trying out for the Firehawks, who are the complete opposite, as they are represented by elements that are totally different. Hawks are flying animals, while sea lions are aquatic. This is a pretty interesting detail. When we see Riley graduating, she receives her certificate from one of her teachers, just like everyone else who completes their studies and finishes a chapter. The interesting detail is that this is the same teacher who was in class when Riley made friends with Grace after her future best friend dropped several coins on the floor, while knocking over a flip chart explaining how she could make the world a better place. We guess he might be the replacement for the teacher we met in the first movie, who seemed completely frustrated with her job. At least her emotions were.
Then it's off to the Bahamas with you-know-who.
Come, fly with me, Gachinya.
You might not remember, but in the first movie, on Riley's first date at her new school, there's a world map behind her with arrows pointing to various locations around the globe where Disney Pixar movies are set. For example, Venezuela, where The Adventures of Up take place, and the Scandinavian countries, where Frozen is set. In the second movie, we can see an updated version of the same map, now with the same places highlighted in different colors on a gray background. It's pretty cool to see this updated map that references all Pixar movies. In the same scene, we see that Inside Out 2 is doing a great job with inclusion, as one of Riley's classmates uses a wheelchair. This shows that this group is getting better representation in the company's animated movies. But this isn't the only scene that involves the inclusion of minority groups with different conditions. When Riley and her friends celebrate their long-awaited victory, we see two girls in the stands conversing using sign language, necessary when at least one person has a hearing impairment. Also, towards the end of the movie, when we're back at Riley's school after the hockey camp, we see a pair of teenagers walking on the sidewalk. One of them has a visual impairment and is using dark glasses and a support cane to identify obstacles. This inclusive reference is really cool. And if you also think these are awesome Pixar references, comment below with #inclusion. Maybe it's just my imagination, but don't you think that the girl sitting in the stands right behind the Firehawks coach looks a lot like the popular girl from Riley's class that we met in the first movie? Honestly, I'm almost sure it's the same person. Maybe she's a hockey fan too. Certainly one of the coolest scenes in the movie occurs when a team of workers arrives with a variety of tools and explosives to completely overhaul Riley's mind control center. As all that noisy, bizarre activity unfolds, it's clear that some of the workers aren't really doing much at all. They're just pretending to be busy. Take, for example, one guy who's wielding a crowbar, but the tool isn't actually attached to anything. It suggests that all he's doing is merely pretending to work. Perhaps this serves as a critique of some contractors who tend to do this from time to time. Another funny thing we see is two of the Demolition guys doing a secret handshake while Joy tries to figure out what's going on with the boss. When I noticed this, I laughed so much because it reminded me of my friend and I. In Inside Out 2, we get a quick glimpse inside the minds of Riley's friends, Bree and Grace. And when we enter Grace's mind, we notice a secret detail that not many people catch. Joy, disgust, and anger in Grace's mind are all wearing clothes with a yellow dog print, just like the one Grace wears on her sweatshirt. That dog isn't there by accident. He's in the same game as Lance Slashblade, the video game character Riley has a crush on. His name is Pugoo, and he's a little dog with boxing gloves who can defeat Lance, since the character inspired by the Zelda game has a super attack that's completely harmless. In one of the first scenes of the movie, we get a hint about the appearance of new emotions. We see that Grace's helmet, Riley's friend, is covered with small stickers. One of them says Girl Power, and we can see the letters are in the colors of the new emotions. The pink of embarrassment in the G and W, the dark purple of ennui in the I and E, and the teal of envy in the L and O. Plus, we can spot a mix of colors, including the orange of anxiety on another sticker a bit lower. Speaking of Riley's friends, did you know that the names of the two girls might have a deeper meaning than we realize? Her friend with glasses is named Bree Young, which sounds a lot like Be Young. And Grace simply means grace, which is definitely very inspiring. And watching the videos here on the channel always makes me feel great. If you want to feel that way too, subscribing to the channel will definitely help. Going back to the end of the 2015 movie, remember when Riley's parents promised they would go to all her games from that moment on? Well, they are keeping that promise, but with one small difference. They seem to have stopped painting their faces. Remember, that was Riley's dad's idea, and her mom thought it was so cute that she ended up throwing away the memory of the handsome Brazilian helicopter pilot. Speaking of Riley's parents, you might not have realized it, but one of the best-kept secrets involves their names. We only know their last name is Anderson, and that Riley's mom's first initial is P, as seen on the back of the credit card Riley steals in the first movie. So for now, this is one of the best-kept secrets in the franchise's history. When Riley arrives at the hockey camp, we notice a subtle secret, much better than the one about the vomit. As soon as she says goodbye to her parents, we see several girls and boys there. But look at this small group on the side. In the next scene, we see that the girl in the dark blue beanie who was standing is now sitting next to the other girl, sharing some kind of cookie with her friend who accepts it. This shows that Pixar movies also teach altruism, which is definitely good. That same girl in the blue beanie shows up in one of Anxiety's projections where Riley is not accepted into the team, and all the girls, at least in the Orange Emotion's mind, are talking behind her back. When Nostalgia appears, we see the fifth new emotion, although she doesn't spend much time on screen throughout the film. But when we see her, we notice a very interesting detail that's almost hidden if it weren't for our keen eyes. We see some paint buckets, one on each side of the door Nostalgia uses to introduce herself. And written on them is HQ Paints, where the initials seem to stand for headquarters, indicating this is where all the emotions are before going to the control center. It's a place I'd love to visit in Inside Out 3, wouldn't you? After Nostalgia, the emotion that participates the least in the movie is ennui, but she's still very important to the story. We know she's so lazy that she almost never approaches the control panel to manage Riley's mind. She uses a smartphone for that. But contrary to what we might think at first, the device isn't just for that, since we see Ennui using it to take a selfie when the new emotions arrive at the headquarters. I'm curious to see how that photo turned out. Many people didn't notice, but when Riley enters the locker room with Val and is introduced to the current Firehawks team, one of the lockers stands out, number 28. This is a reference to Inside Out being officially the 28th movie released by Pixar. But actually, Inside Out 2 was originally supposed to be the 29th film from the animation company. This is because the movie Ilio, the one that tells the story of the little boy who gets abducted by an intergalactic council and mistaken for the ruler of Earth, was postponed to March 2025. But even so, in Riley's movie about her emotions, they still managed to sneak in a small reference to the boy's film. It happens right after Sadness arrives at the command center with several memory orbs, and Envy is looking for a specific one. At that moment, notice that in one of the yellow orbs, which represents a happy memory, we see one of the scenes from the trailer where Ilio starts to float. This proves that Pixar's tradition of referencing their future films is still going strong. Another thing that's sure to happen is you'll keep having a great time with us here on the channel if you click on one of these videos appearing on the screen for you. We picked them because we think you'll really like one, or maybe both. Just choose and click. See you in the next video. Thanks.